Hey everyone, so today you guys have a video sub. The way that I'd like this to work is please pause the video for each new problem, try the problem on your own, then come back to the video to watch me go through it to see if you did it correctly. I don't have my stylus at home, so I do apologize in advance for my handwriting. And sometimes when I'm talking and writing and recording a video all at once, I might say something wrong or make a mistake, so I apologize if that happens. Hopefully you guys can catch any mistakes that I make. So we're going to be going through some of your homework. You guys also have 10 minutes of Quizlet for homework. I posted that link on Schoology if you need it. It's the same Quizlet you guys did over the weekend with the fraction decimal percent memorization. And then you also have Know Where You 1-3 and 1-4 due next Monday. Hopefully you have 1-1 and 1-2 already completed because I will be checking that in tomorrow. So let's look at problem A. So problem A has 1, 2, 3, and 4. Please try that on your own now. Pause the video, come back when you're ready to check. All right, hopefully you've tried the problem on your own. So here we have a problem where these dogs weigh different amounts, and based on their weight, that determines how much food they're going to get. So the first thing it asks is to write ratios for Beauty, Scruffy, and Sport that compares the dog's weight to the amount of food they receive. So for Beauty, it's going to be 24-2. They did say weight goes first. For Scruffy, it's going to be 48-4. For Sport, it's going to be 36-3. I can already tell that these are going to be equivalent because I can tell that they're all going to reduce to the same number. So this is a ratio relationship. It says compare the ratios and explain what the comparison tells you about how the dogs are fed. So that's actually kind of what I just said, that the amount of food they get is in proportion to the amount that the dog weighs. Complete the table for Fifi and Honey. So for Fifi, I'm just going to pick one of these random lines. I'm going to use Beauty. I'm going to draw my arrow to the line I don't know. I don't know Fifi. Since my arrow is pointing at the 12, I'm going to do 12 divided by 24. That's a times 0.5 relationship. That means I have to do times 0.5 to 2. 2 times 0.5 is 1. You might have been able to get that in other ways, and that's fine. I'm just showing one method. So that's Fifi. Now I'm going to do Honey. So I'm actually gonna use Fifi in order to get Honey. So I point my arrow to what I don't know. I have to use this 1 and 5 to get the number on the arrow. So the arrow points at 5. 5 divided by 1 is a times 5 relationship. So 12 times 5 is 60. And again, there may have been other ways to get that. Explain how to use a ratio to find the amount of food any new dog at the shelter should receive. So I'm looking at Fifi because that's going to be the easiest to use to explain that because that has 1 cup of food. It's kind of like a unit rate. So I would say give any dog 12, for every 12 pounds the dog weighs, they get 1 cup of food. And I would write that out as more of a sentence than the shorthand I just did. All right. So now we're going to use that data to make a graph. So the first thing it wants us to do is to plot the pairs of values on the table on the coordinate plane. So we have to consider what is x and what is y. In a table, the first one is always going to be x, unless they tell you otherwise, which they haven't here. And the second one is always going to be y, unless they tell us otherwise. So x is weight, y is food. I'm actually going to see if it will let me copy and paste this next to my graph. We'll see. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But that'll make it easier for you guys to see it. Beautiful, it worked. If you paste it in and it goes in a bad spot, use the text tool, and that'll let you resize it and move it where you want. So weight is going to be x. Sorry for my handwriting. And food is going to be y. Remember, y to the sky. Y is the one that goes up and down. So it looks like on my x-axis, I'm going to have to get all the way to 60. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 boxes. So I want to be counting by 6 there to make it all fill in. So I'm going to go 10, or that's not 6, sorry. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, 60. And then for food, it only goes up to 5. So I'm just going to count by ones. It's okay to count by different things as long as on that axis you're going up by the same number. So on the y-axis, I'm going up by ones every time. On the x-axis, I'm going up by 6 every time. So it's okay to do that, do different numbers. Go ahead and finish question B now. Come back when you're ready to go over it. All right, so hopefully your question B is completely done. So we are going to plot these points here. Beauty is 2 food for 24 weight. So 24, 2. That's beauty. You do not have to label it beauty, and that's a really ugly dot. So I'm going to, without a stylus, it's hard to make a good dot. There we go. That's much better. Scruffy is 48 in weight and 4 for food. Sport is 36 and 3. Fifi is 12 to 1. Honey is 60 to 5. So if I were to connect those points, it may not look like it, but it actually does go through the origin. It's kind of like a weird line like that. So that's what my graph looks like. So it meets our requirements for a ratio graph, and it should because we know these are ratios. Describe the shape. The shape is a straight line. That tells us that they're equivalent ratios. It does touch the origin as well. I meant to write that as well. What x value corresponds to a y value of 0? That would be 0. That's 0, 0, the origin. Would this pair of values be the same for any ratio table? Yes, and the explanation would be all ratio tables would be a straight line and touch the origin. Now COP equation. COP is found by y divided by x. And in this case, it's actually the smaller number divided by the bigger number. That's just how it looks. So I'm going to use Fifi again because those are the littlest numbers, but you could use whatever you want. Fifi, the y value is 1 and the x value is 12. That is my COP, 1/12, and that's okay. It's okay that it's a fraction. The equation, we are going to substitute it into y equals COP x. So the equation is y equals 1/12 x. So that's my equation. This means that if I multiply any x value by the fraction 1/12, it'll give me my y value. All right, so hopefully you guys were able to get some correct answers on that one. On the next page, question C, go through the entire page and then come back and check your answers, the whole page. All right, hopefully you're ready to check your answers. I'm going to go a little bit faster on this one because a lot of it is the same as the previous question. So first it asks to write the ratios for Star, Frisky, and Patch. So for example, Star would be 9 to 3. You would do the same thing for Frisky and Patch. Complete the table for Whiskers and Blackie. So for Whiskers, I'm going to look at Star to help me out here. The arrows always point to what you don't know. So I have to do 3 divided by 9 because the arrow points at 3. 3 divided by 9 is 0.3 repeating, so that's the relationship. So on my calculator, I'm going to do 3 times 0.3 repeating, and that's going to be 1. For Blackie, I could still use the 9 to 3 with Star, but Whiskers has smaller numbers, so I'm going to use Whiskers just because I think it'll be easier for me, but any of these would work. It doesn't matter which one you pick. So arrows, I need to do 5 divided by 1 because the arrow points to 5, so that's going to be a times 5 relationship. Whiskers is going to be times 5 as well, which is 15. And then I have my table filled in. And you may not have needed the arrows. You may have been able to do these in another way, and that's fine. I can tell that this graph is a ratio relationship because every single ratio in here reduces down to 3 to 1. They all equal 3 to 1. So this is a ratio graph. That means my graph is going to be a straight line and it's going to touch the origin. If the table has ratios, the graph has ratios. Compare the ratios for the dogs to the cats. How would you make a graph of the values for the cat? How would this differ from the graph you made for the dogs? Well, the dogs were on the previous page. For the dogs, they had 1 cup of food for every 12 pounds of their weight. For the cats, they have 1 cup of food for every 3 pounds of their weight. So the graph differs because they're getting a different amount of food based on their weight. All right, so we're going to graph the cat data. So I want to get this chart down below so I can see it. All right, and it's okay that it cut off a little bit. I just need the numbers. So if you didn't do the graph yet, please pause the video and then come back when you've done it. Hopefully your graph is done. So if they don't tell you, we know the first column is X and the second column is Y. X goes down here with weight. Y to the sky goes on the side with food. For the food, I know that I only have to go up to 5, so I'm just going to count by ones. And for the weight, I have to go up to 15, and I have 10 boxes, so I'm going to count by 2s. It doesn't matter what you count by as long as you get all those, as long as you have enough values to graph all your points. So got to make my dot a little bit bigger. We have star is 9, 3. 9 is between 8 and 10, and that's okay. Just put it right in the middle. Frisky is 6 to 2. Patch is 12 to 4. Whiskers is 3 to 1. Just put it right in the middle. Blackie is 15 to 5. Put it right in the middle. Your graph might have looked different if you have different numbers, but the general shape of your graph should look the same. And again, I can connect those points. It's going to start at the origin. I already know it's a ratio graph. It's going to look something like that. Your graph should look similar. COP is found with Y over X. In this case, you could use any of these. I'm going to use patch just to choose something randomly. Y is 4 and X is 12. Sometimes you might be tempted to always put the bigger number on top, but that's not how it works. You have to do Y divided by X. That reduces down to 1/3. I can actually leave that as my answer, but if you do 4 divided by 12 on your calculator, you'll get 0.3 repeating. Either of those answers are acceptable. For the equation, it's Y equals COP X. So I could either write Y equals 1/3 X, or I could write Y equals 0.3 repeating X, and either of them would work as my answer. So I'm going to leave you guys to do the rest of the homework on your own, but hopefully this gave you a good start of how to do this. Remember to always do Y divided by X on COP. That's definitely the biggest mistake students make. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the rest of your homework.